The vault door was 15 feet tall and weighed 6 tons, according to the engraved plate. Nora stood in front of it, Emma's hand tied in hers, and tried to process what the locksmith had just said. "Ma'am, I can't open this." "Nobody can. This is a 1920s Mosler treasury vault. You'd need the original combination or a plasma cutter the size of a truck." "But it's mine," Nora said quietly. "I own the building." The locksmith laughed, not unkindly, but like she'd said something absurd. "Lady, owning it and opening it are two different things. Whatever's in there has been locked up since 1959. It's staying that way." 3 months earlier, Nora sat on the courthouse steps with $47 in her checking account and Emma's hand-drawn picture of their family crumpled in her purse. Inside, a judge had just awarded David the house, the car, and half her retirement. She got Emma every other week and a suggestion to secure stable housing. Emma tugged her sleeve. "Mama, I'm hungry." They walked 6 blocks to a McDonald's. Nora ordered a 4-piece nugget and a small fries. They split it. Emma didn't complain. She was 5. She'd learned not to ask for more. Nora's phone buzzed. An email from a law firm in Kansas. Estate of Leonard Grisham, deceased. "You are named as beneficiary. Please contact our office regarding property inheritance." Leonard Grisham, Nora's great-uncle. She'd met him exactly once, at her grandmother's funeral 13 years ago. He'd been ancient then, quiet, smelling of tobacco and old paper. He'd handed her a business card and said, "You've got good eyes, kid. You see what matters." She'd filed it away and never thought of him again. She called the number from the McDonald's parking lot while Emma colored on napkins. "Miss Grisham? Thank you for calling. Leonard Grisham passed 6 weeks ago. His will is straightforward. He left his entire estate to you. The property is located at 1840 Railway Avenue, Millbrook, Kansas. It's the old Millbrook Central Station, abandoned since 1968. Taxes are current. It's yours, free and clear." "A train station?" "Correct. I should mention, Mr. Grisham also left $17 in his checking account and a note. Would you like me to read it?" "Yes, please." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Nora, this place saved me once. Maybe it'll save you too. Don't give up on it. Good things hide in plain sight." "Uncle Leonard." Nora looked at Emma, at the crumbs on the plastic tray, at the eviction notice from their motel tucked in her purse. They had 9 days before they were on the street. "What condition is the building in?" "I haven't personally seen it, but it's been abandoned for over 50 years, so I'd manage expectations." Nora did the math. Her last paycheck from the call center was $340. Gas to Kansas would cost maybe $60. If the building had a roof and running water, it was more than they had now. "I'll take it," she said. Millbrook, Kansas was dying. Half the storefronts on Main Street were empty. The Super 8 had a flashing vacancy sign that looked permanent. Nora drove past a shuttered diner, a boarded-up hardware store, a Dollar General that seemed to be the only thriving business. Railway Avenue was at the edge of town, where the road turned to gravel. And there it was, Millbrook Central Station. It was massive. 3 stories of red brick, with arched windows and a clock tower that no longer told time. The platform was overgrown with weeds. The tracks were rusted. Pigeons scattered as Nora pulled up in her wheezing Toyota. "Can we sleep here, Mama?" Emma's voice was small, uncertain. Nora looked at the building. Broken windows. Graffiti on the lower walls. Decades of neglect. But the structure was solid. The roof looked intact. And it was theirs. "Yeah, baby," Nora said, fighting tears. "We can sleep here." Inside, the station was a museum of abandonment. The ticket windows were still intact, brass bars tarnished green. Wooden benches lined the waiting area, covered in dust and bird droppings. Old schedules hung behind cracked glass. Chicago 6:15 a.m. Denver 2:40 p.m. Departures that would never come. But there was electricity. Nora flipped a switch and a single bulb flickered on. There was running water in the bathroom, rust brown at first, then clear. The freight elevator worked. And upstairs, in what had been the station master's apartment, there were 2 rooms with intact windows and wooden floors that creaked but held. "It's like a castle," Emma whispered, running her hand along the ornate banister. Nora spread their sleeping bags on the floor that night. She'd bought sandwiches and chips at the Dollar General. They ate by flashlight, listening to the building settle around them. "Mama, are we poor now?" Nora set down her sandwich. "We're in between right now. But we're going to be okay. Daddy said you can't take care of me. The words hit like fists. Nora pulled Emma close. Daddy's wrong. I'm going to take care of you better than anyone. I promise. The next morning, Nora explored the building properly. The main hall, the old restaurant kitchen, the storage rooms, the freight area, and in the basement, behind a rusted metal door, she found it. The vault. It dominated the entire back wall, a massive circular door of polished steel, dulled by decades, but still imposing. The name Mosseler was engraved across the top. A combination dial the size of a dinner plate sat in the center. Nora ran her fingers over the cold metal. Why would a train station have a vault like this? She pulled out her phone and Googled Millbrook Central Station history. The results made her breath catch. Millbrook Central, 1918 to 1968. Major railway hub, known for secure freight transfer. Handled government payroll transport during World War II. Vault installed 1922 for high-value cargo storage. High-value cargo. Nora tried the combination dial. It didn't budge. She searched the station master's office, the filing cabinets, the old desk drawers. Nothing. That night, while Emma slept, Nora sat in the empty station and stared at her phone. $287 left. She needed to find work. She needed to make this place livable. She needed to prove to David, to the judge, to herself that she could provide. But the vault haunted her. What if Uncle Leonard had left her more than a building? What if there was something inside worth? She shut down the thought. Magical thinking wouldn't pay for food. Still, she couldn't sleep. She walked downstairs, stood in front of the vault, and pressed her palm against the cold steel. "What are you hiding?" she whispered. The vault kept its silence. Nora found work 3 days later at Millbrook Family Diner, the only restaurant still operating. $8.50 an hour plus tips. The owner, a woman named Jolene with kind eyes and skepticism about Nora's ability to last, gave her the breakfast and lunch shifts. "You're living where?" Jolene asked, refilling coffee for a table of truckers. "The old train station. I inherited it." Jolene's eyebrows rose. "Leonard's niece? Well, that explains it. He was a strange one. Lived in that station alone for 40 years. Never spent a dime. People thought he was crazy. Did you know him? Everyone knew him. Or knew of him, anyway. He'd come in once a week, order black coffee and toast, leave exact change. Never talked. But he wasn't mean. Just haunted, maybe." Emma started kindergarten at Millbrook Elementary. 22 kids in her class. The teacher, Mrs. Chun, called Nora after the first week. Emma's struggling with the transition. She's very quiet. Withdrawn. "Is everything stable at home?" Nora looked around the station master's apartment. She'd scrubbed it clean, hung curtains from the Dollar General, set up Emma's donated toys in the corner. But it was still an abandoned train station. "We're adjusting," Nora said carefully. "It's been a difficult year. If you need resources, counseling, assistance programs, I can connect you." "Thank you. I'll let you know." She wouldn't. She couldn't risk anyone deciding their housing wasn't adequate. Couldn't risk David finding out they were living in a derelict building and using it to take Emma away permanently. At night, after Emma was asleep, Nora researched. She filled notebooks with information about the vault, about Mosseler's security systems, about train station operations in the 1920s. She learned that Millbrook Central had been a key transfer point for Federal Reserve shipments during the Depression, that it had handled military payroll during both World Wars, that it had closed abruptly in 1968 after the railway company went bankrupt. But she found no mention of the vault's contents. No inventory. No records. She called locksmiths. The first 3 hung up when she described the vault. The fourth, a retired safecracker named Dutch, drove out from Topeka to look at it. He stood in front of it for 10 minutes, silent. Then he turned to Nora and shook his head. "This is a Mosseler Class 5 Treasury Vault. You know what that means?" "No." "Means it was designed to hold government assets. Means it's got a time lock, a relocker system, and drill-proof plating. Means if you try to force it, it'll seize permanently and you'll never get in. And means the combination is probably 60 digits long, changed every 6 months when it was in operation. So it's impossible." "I didn't say impossible. I said expensive. You'd need X-ray equipment to image the mechanism. You'd need a manipulation expert, and there's maybe 5 people in the country who could do this. You'd need time, maybe months. And you'd need to pay. We're talking $50,000 minimum. Probably more." Nora's shoulders sagged. I don't have $50,000. Dutch patted her arm. Then whatever's in there stays in there. Sorry, kid. Sometimes treasure stays buried. Subscribe now, because what Nora discovers in Uncle Leonard's hidden papers changes everything. 2 months in, Nora was surviving. Barely. She worked doubles at the diner. Emma adjusted to school. They had heat now. Nora had saved enough to get the old boiler repaired. They had furniture from estate sales. They had a routine. But David was circling. He'd filed a motion to revisit custody, claiming Nora's housing was unstable and inappropriate for a child. The hearing was in 6 weeks. Nora sat in the station master's office, going through old papers for the 100th time. Shipping manifests, personnel records, maintenance logs. Nothing useful. Then she found it. The ledger was tucked inside a false bottom drawer, wrapped in oilcloth. Leather-bound, the pages yellow with age. Uncle Leonard's handwriting filled every line. January 15th, 1959, vault sealed. Per federal order. Contents classified. Transfer incomplete due to company bankruptcy. Shipment origin, Denver Mint. Destination, Kansas City Federal Reserve. Status, lost in transit. Value, unknown. Nora's hands shook as she turned pages. March 3rd, 1959, investigated vault contents personally. Unable to open without proper authorization. Waited for federal contact. None came. June 12th, 1959, railway company dissolved. Station decommissioned. Vault contents legally abandoned. Ownership unclear. September 1st, 1959, purchased station at tax auction for $1,200. Vault now technically mine. Still cannot open. December 25th, 1959, spent Christmas alone in station. Wondered what's inside. Wondered if I'll ever know. The entries continued for years. Uncle Leonard had spent decades researching, tried to find legal ownership, tried to determine the vault's contents. He'd written to the Federal Reserve, to the Treasury Department, to the railway company's bankruptcy trustees. No one claimed it. No one cared. The final entry was dated 3 months before his death. The vault will outlive me. Maybe that's fitting. Some treasures aren't meant to be claimed. But I'm leaving the station to Nora. She's got that look, the one that sees past the surface. If anyone can figure this out, it's her. Don't give up, kid. Nora closed the ledger and walked downstairs. She stood in front of the vault, pressing her forehead against the cold steel. Emma appeared beside her, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Mama, why do you stare at that door? Because I think there's something important inside. Something that could help us. Like treasure. Maybe. Emma touched the dial gently. Did Uncle Leonard try to open it? For 40 years. That's a long time. Emma yawned. Maybe the door knows you're nice. Maybe it'll open for you. Nora picked her up, carried her back to bed. But Emma's words stuck. Maybe it'll open for you. That night, Nora tried every combination she could think of. Birth dates, addresses, historical dates. The vault stayed locked. But in the ledger, she'd noticed something. Uncle Leonard had documented every attempt, every theory. And in one margin note, he'd written, pattern in shipping manifests. Every 6th entry. Numbers don't match standard coding. Nora pulled the shipping manifests. Started marking every 6th entry. The numbers formed a sequence. 18-40-12-22-59-08. Her heart pounded. She walked to the vault. Spun the dial right to 18. Left to 40. Right to 12. Left to 22. Right to 59. Left to 08. Nothing. She tried again, slower. The dial clicked softly under her fingers. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. The final number locked into place. And deep inside the vault, something shifted. A mechanical sound, like ancient gears waking. The time lock disengaging after 65 years. Nora grabbed the wheel. Pulled. The vault door swung open. The smell hit first. Old paper and metal and stale air that hadn't circulated since Eisenhower was president. Nora's flashlight beam cut through the darkness, landing on stacks of wooden crates stamped with faded government seals. U.S. Mint. Denver. 1959. Federal Reserve. Transfer. Her hands shook as she pried open the first crate. Inside, wrapped in deteriorating cloth, were canvas backs. She opened one. Gold coins spilled into her palm. Double eagles. St. Gaudens 20s. Each one gleaming despite decades in darkness. The bag was full of them. She looked at the crate. 20 bags. She looked at the vault. 30 crates. Nora sat down hard on the concrete floor. Her breath came in gasps. This wasn't possible. She pulled out her phone, Googled with trembling fingers. 1959, Denver Mint gold shipment lost. The results were sparse but consistent. A railway transfer of gold coins from the Denver Mint to the Kansas City Federal Reserve had disappeared during the Millbrook Railway Company's bankruptcy. The shipment was presumed stolen or lost. Value in 1959, approximately $2.8 million. Never recovered. Nora calculated frantically. Gold value had increased exponentially. Double eagles sold at auction for thousands each. If there were hundreds of them, thousands, she couldn't breathe. She stood up, walked to the door, gulped fresh air. This was real. This was actually real. But it was also federal property. Or was it? The shipment had been lost for 65 years. Uncle Leonard's ledger said the ownership was legally unclear. The railway company was dissolved. The insurance had been paid out decades ago. The government had written it off. Nora went back inside. She counted bags, documented everything with her phone camera. By dawn, she had rough numbers, approximately 18,000 gold coins. At current auction rates, the collection was worth, conservatively, $418 million. She closed the vault, locked it, walked upstairs and sat on Emma's bed, watching her daughter sleep. Jolene knew a lawyer. My nephew in Kansas City. Corporate law mostly, but he's smart and honest. Want me to call him? Nora sat in the diner's back booth, coffee untouched. I need someone who handles estate law, property rights, maybe government contract law. What's this about, Han? Nora met her eyes. I need advice. Confidential advice. Can your nephew do that? Jolene studied her face. You found something in that station. Maybe. Leonard always said that place had secrets. Jolene pulled out her phone. I'll call him. The lawyer's name was Marcus Webb. He drove to Millbrook 3 days later, followed Nora into the station, and stood in front of the open vault for a full minute without speaking. Holy hell, he finally said. They spent 6 hours documenting everything. Marcus took photos, recorded serial numbers, verified the mint markings. Then they sat in the station master's office while he explained. Legally, this is complex. The shipment was federally insured in 1959. The insurance company paid out and technically assumed ownership rights. But that company dissolved in 1987. The successor companies were liquidated in the 2008 crisis. The claim is effectively orphaned. So it's mine? Not quite. We need to establish clear chain of title. Your uncle purchased the station legally. The vault and its contents were part of that purchase. The railway company's bankruptcy trustee would have included all fixtures and contents in the sale. But we should notify the Federal Reserve and Treasury Department. Full disclosure prevents future seizure. They'll take it. They might claim it. But if they do, you're entitled to a finder's fee. Federal law allows up to 10% for recovery of lost government property. That's still $40 million. Nora's head spun. And if they don't claim it? Then after proper legal notification and a waiting period, it's yours free and clear. Either way, you're walking away with life-changing money. But we do this right. Transparent. Legal. Clean. Marcus filed the paperwork. Notification to the Treasury. Notification to the Federal Reserve. Notification to the FDIC regarding the dissolved insurance company. Documentation of the discovery, the property ownership, the chain of title. Then they waited. David's custody hearing was in 2 weeks. Nora met with her court-appointed attorney in the station's waiting room. The building is impressive, the attorney admitted, looking around at the restored ticket windows, the polished brass, the cleaned floors. But he's going to argue it's unstable. Former commercial property. No yard. Questionable neighborhood. It's a landmark building. It's structurally sound. Emma loves it here. I believe you. But judges want conventional stability. Can you afford to rent somewhere more traditional? Not yet, Nora thought. But soon. Maybe very soon. The Treasury Department responded first. A formal letter acknowledging receipt of notification. An investigation would be conducted. Estimated timeline, 90 to 120 days. The Federal Reserve sent an agent. He examined the vault, the coins, the documentation. He was polite, professional, and revealed nothing. We'll be in touch, he said. The custody hearing was brutal. David's lawyer painted Nora as unstable, impoverished, living in an abandoned building unsuitable for a child. Nora's lawyer countered with Emma's school records, improving grades, perfect attendance, a teacher's note praising her adjustment. The judge looked tired. Ms. Grisham, I've reviewed the photos of your current residence. It's unconventional. It's a historic building, Your Honor. I'm restoring it. Emma has her own room, full utilities, and a stable environment. In a train station. Yes, Your Honor. The judge sighed. I'm maintaining the current custody arrangement. But Ms. Grisham, I strongly encourage you to consider more traditional housing for your daughter's well-being. We'll revisit this in 6 months. It wasn't a win, but it wasn't a loss. Nora walked out with Emma's hand in hers and let herself breathe. The Treasury Department's final letter arrived on a Tuesday, for months after the initial notification. Marcus read it aloud in the station's waiting room. After thorough investigation, the Department of the Treasury has determined that the recovered coins represent a 1959 shipment insured by the Federal Railway Insurance Company, now dissolved. As no current legal entity maintains claim to the recovered property, and as the property was legally purchased as part of the Millbrook Central Station in 1959, the department recognizes Ms. Nora Grisham as the rightful owner. However, the department exercises its right to purchase the collection at current market value for $118 million. Ms. Grisham may accept this offer or pursue private sale. Nora sat down. Emma, coloring on the floor, looked up. Mama, you're crying. Happy tears, baby. Really happy tears. Marcus grinned. Congratulations. You're a very wealthy woman. The sale finalized in 60 days. Nora accepted the Treasury's offer. It was fair, immediate, and avoided the complexity of private auction. After taxes and Marcus's fees, she walked away with $281 million. She paid off every debt, set up Emma's education trust, established the Leonard Grisham Foundation to preserve historic buildings in dying towns, bought the diner building and gave Jolene ownership, hired a restoration team for the station. It would become a museum and community center, and she kept the station master's apartment, their home. 6 months later, at the follow-up custody hearing, David's lawyer opened with, Your Honor, we'd like to withdraw our petition. Ms. Grisham has clearly established a stable environment. The judge looked surprised. Ms. Grisham? Nora stood. I'd like to petition for primary custody, Your Honor. Emma should have stability. I can provide that now. David didn't fight. The settlement was quiet, private. He got visitation. Nora got their daughter. That night, Emma stood on the station platform, now restored, with safety railings and flower boxes, and looked up at the stars. Mama, do you think Uncle Leonard knew the treasure was there? Nora thought about the ledger. The 40 years of searching. The note. Don't give up, kid. I think he suspected. I think he hoped. And I think he wanted someone to find it who'd appreciate what it really meant. What did it mean? That patient work pays off. That abandoned things aren't worthless. That sometimes treasure hides in plain sight, waiting for the right person to see it. Emma nodded seriously. Like us. We were hidden too. And then the treasure found us. Nora pulled her close. Yeah, baby. Exactly like that. The clock tower, restored now, working again, chimed 8 times. In the main hall, contractors were installing the museum exhibits. In town, the diner thrived under Jolene's ownership. And in the vault, now empty and open for tours, a plaque read, the Leonard Grisham Memorial Vault. Proof that what we dismiss as worthless sometimes holds everything we need. Nora looked at her daughter, at the building they'd saved, at the life they'd built from nothing. David had said she couldn't provide. The judge had doubted. The whole world had dismissed her as a failure. But she'd seen what mattered. She'd trusted the gift. She'd opened the door everyone else said would stay closed forever. And she'd found treasure, not just in gold, but in the chance to prove that women like her, living in abandoned places with $47 and a prayer, could build empires from what others threw away. Come on, Nora said, squeezing Emma's hand. Let's go home. They walked back into the station. Their castle, their fortress, their proof that good things hide in plain sight, waiting for patient hands to find them. The door closed behind them. The clock tower kept time. And in Millbrook, Kansas, an abandoned train station stood tall, no longer forgotten, finally seen for what it had always been. Valuable.